Hi there. Thanks so much for watching this week's video message. You may have students who have a lot of interesting questions for you that are of this particular nature. Is it time for the game now? How many more minutes in this lesson? Do we have to do dictation now? Well, when is it time for handwriting? Well, this part's taking a really long time. You may have students that like to know what's happening next, right? Most kids do thrive on that predictability, that structure, and that routine. It really is particularly helpful with children who need to have some guidance with regulation to keep them regulated. And so having a structured routine in your Orton-Gillingham lesson is really going to be beneficial not only for the child, but for you as well. Now, I've had students that have kind of gotten into the questioning zone, as I like to call it, in a loving way. And so, what I have found that has been so helpful is using a visual schedule. Now, you may have seen the visual schedule that I have in the Literacy Nest free resource library. But recently, I was at the Orton-Gillingham conference back in March, and I saw a presentation on executive function with the Orton-Gillingham lesson that had a suggestion for a different type of a visual schedule. And this one was more of a desktop version as a checklist rather than something that you display in a pocket chart. So I decided to give it a try. And this is particularly helpful for those kids that really can be easily distracted, that need to stay focused, that need to know what's coming next, and really benefit from the predictability of the format of the Orton-Gillingham lesson. And so I made this visual checklist for myself and put in photos or just little pictures of the different parts of the lesson here, short words or phrases here to let them know what was happening, and then a spot here to check off. I'll just hold it up a little bit closer. Now, everybody in Orton-Gillingham has sort of a similar format, but there may be some variation. And so you can create a checklist like this for yourself, but the one that I have may not necessarily work for you. But for my students that I was working with, this is really helpful. And so what I did try is something a little different. So I put this in a little plastic sleeve and put it on a clipboard. And I actually let the student be in charge of that checklist. I would say, okay, well, it's time for the card drill. So do our drill. And when it was complete, I let them use their dry erase marker to check it off. And then go down to some phonemic awareness tasks and some chaining and word building here. So I have my little magnetic journal photo here. Okay, when that task was complete, I let them check it off. And by letting them be the ones to put the check mark next to it, it is, once again, helping them stay regulated in the sense that they know what they've just finished and they know what's coming next. And sure, there was a part where I've had some students that say, oh, dictation, frown face with the dry erase marker, because that's not always their favorite, but that's okay. But of course, when we get to the little game part for the review portion, they love that. So I've had students that love to continue putting the check marks when things are done. And then they get to the end and they think, wow, that went by so quickly. After a few weeks, I've had students say, you can do the check marks. I don't really need to do that anymore. I know what's coming next. But what a difference in certain children's focus when they have the checklist in front of them, rather it being posted somewhere on the wall. I have noticed a much more calming effect on several of my students when they were the ones going through, and really reduced the number of questions that can sometimes be a little bit of a distraction to take, or detraction away from the confines of your lesson. So give a visual schedule a try in this checklist format. The other thing that you might want to consider is using a visual timer. Now, this one ticks. So, unfortunately, in my office, I'm not wild, since that's a small space, I'm not wild about having that ticking sound being heard by my students. I would prefer one that didn't tick. But if you're in a classroom and it's far enough away, then you might not hear it. But we do want to have our eyes on it because it does have a nice visual timer. So if I'm at 15 minutes, you can hear it sort of a light ticking. Some people might be bothered by that. So just sort of something to consider when you think about using a visual timer, if it doesn't have that ticking sound, or if it does. So, and then it has a little buzzer. So that's something else that some students may need instead of the visual checklist. So this is all part of some organizational blog posts that I have on the literacynest.com, and you can check those out for helping to keep yourself organized, so that can help your students feel organized and more regulated. There are other posts included more recently on executive function, so you can check those out as well. And there are some helpful checklists that you can print out. They're free downloads. Thanks for watching this week's message, and you can, of course, find me on YouTube. I really appreciate you following me on there, and you can find out when I have new videos when you do. And you can also find all of the videos categorized in the Literacy Nest video vault. Have a great day.